Captain Sarah Chen sat in her command chair on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the stars drift past on the main screen. The massive human warship had been patrolling the outer edge of known space for 3 weeks now, and the crew was getting restless. Nothing ever happened out here in the deep black between star systems. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," called out Lieutenant Torres from the communication station. Her voice had that edge that meant she had found something important. Chen turned toward her. "What kind of strange, Lieutenant?" Torres frowned at her instruments, adjusting the controls with practiced movements. "It's a distress signal, but it's weak, very weak. And the transmission pattern doesn't match anything in our database." The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's engines. First Officer Commander Jake Morrison stepped closer to Torres's station, his expression serious. "How far out?" "About 12 light hours, sir." "But that's not the weird part." Torres looked up at them both. "The signal is using mathematical sequences we've never seen before. It's definitely artificial, definitely a call for help, but whoever sent it isn't human." Chen felt her heart rate increase. First contact with an alien species was something every starship captain dreamed about and feared in equal measure. The protocols were clear. Report to Fleet Command and wait for instructions. But 12 light hours was a long way from anywhere, and distress signals usually meant someone was dying. "Can you tell how old the signal is?" Chen asked. "Based on signal degradation, I'd say it started broadcasting about 6 days ago. But Captain," Torres hesitated, "the power levels are dropping. Whatever is sending this won't be able to keep transmitting much longer." Morrison moved to Chen's side and spoke quietly. "Sarah, you know what regulations say about first contact situations. We need to report this and wait for orders." Chen stared at the main screen, thinking hard. 6 days was a long time for anyone to be stranded in space. By the time they reported back to Fleet Command and waited for a response, whoever was out there would probably be dead. "Torres, how long would it take us to reach the source of that signal?" "At maximum jump speed, about 8 hours, Captain." Chen made her decision. "Set course for the signal's origin." "Maximum speed, Captain," Morrison said more firmly. "This goes against direct orders. We're supposed to avoid contact with unknown alien species without proper authorization." Chen turned to face her first officer. She had served with Jake Morrison for 5 years, and she trusted his judgment completely. But sometimes doing the right thing meant breaking the rules. "Jake, somebody out there is asking for help. They've been asking for help for 6 days. If we follow protocol, they'll be dead before we get permission to save them." She stood up from her command chair. "I won't let that happen. Not on my watch." Morrison looked uncomfortable, but he nodded. "Yes, Captain. I'll have all departments prepare for possible first contact." The next 8 hours passed slowly. The crew of the Defiant had drilled for first contact scenarios, but nobody really knew what to expect. Dr. James Reeves, the ship's chief science officer, worked with Torres to analyze the alien signal. They discovered it contained star charts and what appeared to be technical specifications for some kind of engine system. "It's incredible," Dr. Reeves told Chen as she visited the science lab. "Whoever these beings are, their technology is far more advanced than ours. The mathematics in their distress signal alone is beyond anything we've developed." Chen felt a chill. "More advanced? How much more advanced?" "Hard to say without seeing it in person, but their understanding of quantum mechanics appears to be centuries ahead of us." When the Defiant finally dropped out of jump space near the signal's source, the bridge crew gasped. Floating in the darkness was a ship unlike anything they had ever seen. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, a crystalline structure that seemed to shift and change as the light hit it from different angles. But the ship was dark, and it was tumbling slowly through space. "No power readings," reported Lieutenant Harris from the tactical station. "Whatever happened to them, their main systems are completely offline." Chen stood behind Torres as she tried to establish communication with the alien vessel. "Try broadcasting our own mathematical sequences," Chen ordered. "Show them we're intelligent beings offering help." For several minutes there was no response. Then suddenly the alien ship's hull began to glow with soft pulsing lights. A new signal came through the Defiant's communication system, not words, but patterns of sound and light that somehow conveyed meaning. Dr. Reeves rushed onto the bridge, his tablet in hand. "Captain, I think they're responding." The universal translator is picking up basic concepts. They're trying to tell us something about their engines failing. The next few hours were frustrating but amazing. Slowly, Painfully, the two species began to understand each other. The aliens called themselves the Kythera. Their exploration ship had suffered what they described as a quantum cascade failure, something that had left them stranded and slowly dying as their life support systems failed. Through careful exchange of images and mathematical concepts, the humans learned that the Kythera were peaceful explorers who had been traveling through this region of space when disaster struck. They had sent their distress signal hoping anyone might hear it and help them. "Captain," Dr. Reeves said, his voice filled with wonder, "they're showing us images of their homeworld. It's beautiful. Crystal cities that seem to grow from the ground itself. And their people. They're insectoid but incredibly graceful. They communicate through color changes in their skin." Chen watched the images flowing across the main screen. The Kythera looked nothing like humans. They stood on 4 legs, had large compound eyes, and their bodies seemed to be covered in a chitinous shell that shifted through different colors. But there was something in their movements, something in the way they held themselves that spoke of intelligence and dignity. "What's their condition?" Chen asked. Torres checked her instruments. "Life support is failing. Based on their biological data, they have maybe 12 hours before their atmosphere becomes toxic to them." Chen made another decision that would change everything. "Open a channel to their ship, Captain," Morrison warned. "Bringing unknown aliens aboard our ship is exactly what we're going to do," Chen finished. "We can't repair their ship in time, but we can save their lives. Prepare the cargo bay for alien atmosphere. I want full environmental suits for everyone who makes contact." The next few hours were chaos. The Defiant's crew worked frantically to prepare a safe environment for the Kythera. Meanwhile, the aliens transmitted detailed information about their atmospheric and biological needs. It was clear they were as nervous about meeting humans as the humans were about meeting them. When the first Kythera finally stepped aboard the Defiant, the moment was electric. The alien was tall and elegant, its shell shifting through colors that Dr. Reeves said probably indicated emotions. Through the universal translator, it spoke in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "We are grateful beyond measure," the alien said. "We had given up hope. We thought we would die alone in the darkness between stars." Chen stepped forward, her own voice shaking slightly. "No one dies alone. Not while humans are around to help." The Kythera's shell shifted to a warm golden color, and Chen somehow knew it was smiling. The cargo bay of the Defiant had been transformed into something that looked like a scene from a science fiction movie. Environmental suits hung on racks along the walls, and portable atmosphere processors hummed quietly as they maintained the specialized air mixture the Kythera needed to breathe. Temporary living quarters had been set up with sleeping areas and workstations designed for beings with 4 legs instead of 2. Dr. James Reeves stood in the center of it all, holding a tablet and trying not to stare too obviously at the 7 Kythera who were now living aboard his ship. Even after 12 hours, he still found them fascinating. They moved with a fluid grace that reminded him of dancers, and their shell-like skin constantly shifted through subtle color changes that he was beginning to understand, indicated different emotions and thoughts. The lead Kythera, who had introduced himself as something that sounded like Resonance of Deep Waters, but asked to be called simply Resonance, approached. Dr. Reeves, the alien's shell, was currently showing patterns of blue and silver that Reeves had learned meant curiosity mixed with gratitude. "Dr. Reeves," Resonance said through the universal translator, his voice carrying that musical quality that all the Kythera seemed to have.
"We are still amazed by your species' willingness to help us.
In all our travels, we have never encountered beings who would risk so much for strangers." Reeves smiled, though he wasn't sure if the Kythera could understand human facial expressions. "It's just what we do. Humans have a saying, no one gets left behind. When someone needs help, we help them. It's that simple." Resonance's shell shifted to a warm gold color. "Simple for you, perhaps, but we have encountered many species in our explorations. Most would have ignored our distress signal or demanded payment for assistance. Some would have taken advantage of our helplessness." Captain Chen entered the cargo bay, having finished her latest report to Fleet Command. The response had been about what she expected. A mixture of excitement about first contact and concern about her decision to bring unknown aliens aboard a military vessel. But the orders were clear. Keep the Kythera safe and learn everything possible about them. "How are our guests settling in?" Chen asked. "Very well, Captain," Dr. Reeves replied. "They're incredibly polite and helpful. They've been sharing information about their technology and culture. and they're genuinely interested in learning about us. Resonance moved closer to Captain Chen, his movements careful and respectful. Captain Chen, we owe you a debt that can never be repaid. But we also bring you a warning. Our ship did not suffer a random accident. Chen felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. What do you mean? Another Cathara approached, this one smaller than Resonance, with shell patterns that shifted through deeper, more serious colors. I am called Swift Current Through Stones. I was the navigator of our vessel. What Resonance means is that we were not simply exploring when our engines failed. We were fleeing. Fleeing from what? Chen asked. Resonance and Swift Current exchanged what might have been glances, their shells both shifting to dark purple patterns that clearly indicated fear. From the hegemony, Resonance said quietly. Dr. Reeves had never heard the name before, but something about the way Resonance said it made his skin crawl. Who is the hegemony? A military empire that has been expanding through this region of space for the past 50 of your years, Swift Current explained. They conquer or destroy any species they encounter. They see our technology as a threat and our peaceful nature as weakness to be exploited. Chen sat down on one of the cargo containers, suddenly feeling very tired. So you're refugees? Yes, Resonance admitted. Our homeworld was attacked 6 months ago. Most of our people were killed or enslaved. A few of us escaped in exploration vessels like ours, hoping to find somewhere safe to rebuild our civilization. The cargo bay fell silent except for the hum of the life support systems. Chen looked around at the 7 Cathara, really seeing them for the first time not as exotic aliens but as survivors of a genocide. They had lost everything, their world, their families, their entire way of life, and now they were dependent on the kindness of strangers. How many of you are left? Dr. Reeves asked softly. Perhaps a few hundred scattered across the galaxy, Swift Current replied. Maybe fewer. We have had no contact with other survivors for months. Chen stood up, her jaw set in determination. Well, you're safe now. The human fleet will protect you. Resonance's shell shifted to patterns of deep gratitude but also concern. Captain Chen, you do not understand the scope of the threat. The hegemony commands thousands of warships. They have conquered dozens of species. Your fleet, no matter how brave, would not be able to stand against them. Maybe not, Chen said firmly, but we'll stand anyway. That's also what humans do. Over the next several hours, the cultural exchange between humans and Cathara deepened. The aliens were amazed by human adaptability and creativity. They watched in fascination as Chief Engineer Maria Santos jury-rigged solutions to technical problems using materials that were never intended for such purposes. Your species approaches problems in ways we would never consider, observed a Cathara engineer named Harmony in Motion. You see connections and possibilities that our more logical minds miss. Santos grinned as she welded 2 completely different components together to create a new tool. Humans call it thinking outside the box. Sometimes the crazy solution is the right solution. Meanwhile, the humans were learning just as much from their guests. The Cathara understanding of quantum mechanics was indeed centuries ahead of human science. They could manipulate matter and energy at the subatomic level in ways that seemed like magic to human observers. Dr. Reeves spent hours with Resonance, learning about Cathara society and culture. The aliens made decisions collectively, with each individual contributing their expertise and wisdom to reach consensus. They had no concept of individual ownership. Everything belonged to the community and was shared according to need. It sounds like paradise, Reeves said. In many ways it was. Resonance replied sadly, but our peaceful nature also made us vulnerable. We had no weapons, no military forces. When the hegemony came, we had no way to defend ourselves. How did some of you escape? A few of our exploration ships were far from the homeworld when the attack came. We received warning messages and fled before the hegemony could find us, but we knew we could never return home. Lieutenant Torres had been working with the Cathara to improve the universal translator, and she made an important discovery. Captain, I think I know why the Cathara are so advanced technologically. They've been spacefaring for over 1,000 years. They've encountered dozens of other species and learned from all of them. Chen found this information both exciting and troubling. If they've been traveling for 1,000 years and encountered so many species, where are all those other civilizations now? The question hung in the air like a dark cloud. Finally, Resonance answered. Most are gone, Captain, conquered by the hegemony or other aggressive empires. destroyed by wars or disasters. A few survive in hidden colonies or as refugees like us. The galaxy is much more dangerous than it appears. That evening, Chen called a meeting of her senior staff in the conference room adjacent to the cargo bay. Through the transparent aluminum windows, they could see the Kithara going about their daily activities, meditating in groups, sharing meals, and working together on various projects. "So where does this leave us?" Chen asked. Commander Morrison spoke first. "We have 7 refugee aliens aboard our ship, and apparently there's a massive hostile empire somewhere out there that wants to kill them. Fleet Command is asking for recommendations." "The Kithara have knowledge that could advance human technology by centuries," Dr. Reeves pointed out. "Their quantum manipulation abilities alone could revolutionize our understanding of physics. And they're good people," added Santos. "I've been working with their engineers all day. They're kind, generous, and brilliant. If we turn our backs on them now, we're no better than this hegemony they're running from." Chen looked out at the aliens who had placed their trust in humanity. "Then we don't turn our backs. We find a way to protect them and help them rebuild their civilization." "Captain," Morrison said carefully, "that might mean war with the hegemony eventually." Chen met his eyes steadily. "Then we'll be ready for war, because that's what humans do when innocent people need protection." Chief Engineer Maria Santos floated in her environmental suit next to the damaged Kithara vessel, staring at technology that should not have existed. The crystalline ship hung in space like a work of art, its surfaces catching and reflecting the light from the Defiant's floodlights in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "This is impossible," she muttered into her comm unit as she ran her scanner over the alien ship's engine compartment. "Dr. Reeves, are you getting this data?" Dr. Reeves's voice crackled back through the comm system from the Defiant's science lab. "I'm seeing it, but I don't believe it. Maria, that engine operates on principles we don't even have theories for yet." Santos pulled herself along the ship's hull using magnetic grips, following the power conduits that led to what the Kithara called their quantum core. The engine room was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Crystalline structures grew from the walls like living things, and streams of energy flowed through transparent tubes in patterns that seemed almost organic. "Resonance,"
Can you explain to me again what happened here?
Santos asked. The lead Kithara was floating beside her in his own environmental suit, a specially designed unit that the Defiance engineers had built for him in just 6 hours. Resonance's shell, visible through his suit's transparent sections, shifted to deep blue patterns indicating sadness and frustration. The quantum matrix that controls our drive became unstable. What you might call a cascade failure spread through the entire system, causing the crystalline structure to fracture at the molecular level. Santos looked at the damaged core through her helmet's enhanced visor. To her human eyes, it looked like someone had taken a perfect crystal sculpture and shattered it with a hammer. Cracks ran through every surface, and what had once been a smooth, flowing energy pattern was now a chaotic mess of broken connections. "How long would it take to repair this using your normal methods?" she asked. "With proper facilities and materials, perhaps 6 months," Resonance replied. "But the nearest Kithara shipyard that still exists is on the other side of the galaxy. We would never survive the journey in our current condition." Santos nodded grimly. The Kithara had explained that their ship's life support was running on emergency power and would last maybe another week. Even if they could call for help, no Kithara rescue ship could reach them in time. "But there might be another way," Santos said slowly, an idea forming in her mind. "What if we don't try to repair your quantum drive the way your people would do it? What if we fix it the way humans would fix it?" Resonance's shell patterns shifted to what Santos was learning meant confusion. "I do not understand. Human technology is much more primitive than ours." "No offense intended. None taken," Santos grinned. "But primitive doesn't always mean wrong. Sometimes the simple solution is the best solution." Over the next several hours, Santos and her engineering team worked with the Kithara survivors to understand exactly how their quantum drive functioned. It was incredibly complex. The crystalline matrix had to maintain perfect molecular alignment while channeling massive amounts of quantum energy. The slightest disruption could cause the cascade failure that had stranded them. "The problem is that your technology is too perfect," Santos explained to Resonance as they floated in the damaged engine room. "Everything has to be exactly right or the whole system fails. But human technology is designed to work even when things go wrong," She pointed to the shattered quantum core. Look, I can't rebuild this crystal matrix. I don't have the materials or the knowledge, but I can bypass it. Bypass it? Resonance asked. That should be impossible. The quantum field requires precise harmonic resonance to remain stable. Santos smiled. That's where human engineering comes in. We're going to jury-rig your quantum drive using components from our own ship. Commander Morrison's voice came through the comm system, tight with concern. Maria, please tell me you're not suggesting what I think you're suggesting. I'm suggesting we remove the primary flux capacitor from the Defiance jump drive and use it to create a crude but functional quantum field generator, Santos replied calmly. Then we connect it to the Kythera ship's power systems using standard human engineering techniques. There was a long silence on the comm channel. Finally, Morrison spoke again. Maria, if that doesn't work, we'll be stranded out here too. No jump drive means no way home. And if we don't try it, our new friends die, Santos replied firmly. Besides, I think it will work. Human and Kythera technology might be different, but energy is energy and physics is physics. Captain Chen's voice joined the conversation. Maria, what are the chances of success? Santos looked at the damaged alien technology surrounding her and thought about the plan forming in her head. It was crazy, dangerous, and violated about 50 different engineering protocols. In other words, it was exactly the kind of solution humans were famous for. Honestly, Captain, maybe 60%, but that's better odds than the Kythera have without our help. Do it, Chen said without hesitation. The next 12 hours were controlled chaos. Human engineers worked alongside Kythera technicians, combining technologies that had never been designed to work together. Santos had to completely rewire sections of both ships, creating connections between human magnetic field generators and Kythera quantum manipulators. This should not work, muttered Harmony in Motion, the Kythera engineer, as he watched Santos weld a human power coupling directly to a crystalline energy conduit. The harmonic frequencies are completely incompatible. That's why we're going to use this, Santos said, holding up a device that looked like it had been built from spare parts and wishful thinking. It's a frequency modulator I built using components from our entertainment system, our sensor array, and a coffee maker. Harmony in Motion's shell shifted through several different colors in rapid succession. What Santos had learned was the Kythera equivalent of a human laughing until they cried. You built a quantum frequency modulator using a device for heating beverages? The heating element creates a perfect electromagnetic field oscillation at exactly the frequency we need, Santos explained proudly. Sometimes the best solutions come from the most unexpected places. Dr. Reeves, who had been documenting everything for future study, shook his head in amazement. Maria, if this works, you'll have created the first successful integration of human and alien technology in history. And if it doesn't work, we'll all be dead in space together, Morrison added grimly from the bridge. As the repairs neared completion, Santos found herself working closely with Harmony in Motion and 2 other Kythera engineers. Despite the language barrier and the vast differences in their technology, she was surprised by how well they worked together. Your species has a gift, Harmony in Motion told her as they made the final connections between the jury-rigged systems. You see possibilities where we see only problems. You attempt solutions where we see only obstacles. And your species has a gift too, Santos replied. You understand the universe in ways we can't even imagine. Your knowledge of quantum mechanics is incredible. Perhaps, Harmony in Motion said, his shell showing warm golden patterns. We are stronger together than either of us would be alone. The moment of truth came when they powered up the hybrid system for the first time. Santos held her breath as human technology tried to interface with alien engineering. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then slowly, the crystalline structures in the Kythera ship began to glow with soft, steady light. We have quantum field generation, reported Lieutenant Torres from the Defiance bridge. It's crude and unstable, but it's working. Life support is coming back online, added Resonance, his shell practically glowing with excitement. Environmental systems are responding. We have power to all major systems. Santos let out a whoop of joy that echoed through her helmet comm. We did it. We actually did it. But their celebration was short-lived. Lieutenant Harris's voice came through the comm system, tight with alarm. Captain, we have multiple contacts dropping out of jump space. Large ships, unknown configuration. Chen's voice was calm but deadly serious. How many ships? 5 contacts, Captain. And they're big. Much bigger than us. Santos looked at Resonance, whose shell had shifted to the dark purple patterns that indicated fear. Is it them? She asked quietly. Resonance nodded sadly. The hegemony has found us. Through the transparent sections of the Cathera ship, Santos could see the new arrivals. Massive, angular vessels that looked more like weapons than ships. They hung in space like predators, their hulls bristling with gun turrets and missile launchers. Maria, get back to the Defiant now, Chen ordered. We're about to have company. As Santos and the Cathera engineers hurried back to the human ship, she couldn't help but feel proud of what they had accomplished. They had done the impossible, merged 2 completely different technologies to save lives. But now they were about to find out if their success would matter, or if they had simply delayed the inevitable. The bridge of the UES Defiant had never felt so small. Captain Sarah Chen stood behind the tactical station, watching as 5 massive alien warships arranged themselves in an attack formation around her vessel. Each hegemony ship was easily 3 times the size of the Defiant, their dark hulls bristling with weapons that looked like they could crack a planet in half. They're hailing us, reported Lieutenant Torres, her voice steady despite the fear Chen could see in her eyes. On screen, Chen ordered. The main display flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that made every human on the bridge take a step backward. The hegemony commander was roughly humanoid in shape, but that was where any similarity ended. Its skin was a mottled gray-green color, and its head was elongated with multiple rows of sharp teeth visible when it spoke. Most unsettling were its eyes, cold, calculating, and completely without mercy. I am War Commander Kralix of the Hegemony 3rd Fleet, the alien said in heavily accented English. You are harboring fugitive criminals who have stolen valuable technology from the Hegemony. Surrender them immediately and your ship will be allowed to depart unharmed. Chen stepped forward, her spine straight and her voice calm. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Defiant. The beings you call fugitives are refugees under the protection of the human fleet. They will not be surrendered. Kralix's expression shifted to what might have been amusement. Human. We have heard reports of your species, primitive, aggressive, short-lived. You pilot 1 small warship against 5 of ours. This is not courage, it is stupidity. Maybe, Chen replied, but it's our kind of stupidity. In the cargo bay, Resonance and the other Cathera watched the confrontation through the ship's internal monitors. Their shells had all shifted to the deep purple patterns that indicated despair and resignation. We should surrender ourselves, Resonance said quietly to Dr. Reeves, who stood beside them. Captain Chen and her crew should not die for us. Dr. Reeves shook his head firmly. That's not how this works. Humans don't abandon people who need help, especially not to creatures like that. Swift current through stones moved closer to the group. Dr. Reeves, you do not understand what the hegemony does to prisoners. Death would be a mercy compared to what awaits us. Then we make sure they don't get you, Dr. Reeves said simply. Back on the bridge, War Commander Kralix was growing impatient. You have 30 seconds to comply, human. After that, we will take the fugitives by force and destroy your ship as an example to others who might interfere with hegemony business. Chen looked around her bridge at the crew members she had served with for years. These people trusted her completely, and she was about to lead them into a battle they couldn't possibly win. But sometimes, she reflected, winning wasn't the point. Sometimes you fought because it was the right thing to do. Commander Morrison, she said quietly. Sound general quarters. All hands to battle stations. The alarm klaxons began wailing throughout the ship, and Chen could hear the sound of running feet in the corridors as her crew prepared for combat. The Defiant might be outgunned and outnumbered, but her people were the best in the fleet. Weapons are charged and ready. Captain, reported Lieutenant Harris from Tactical. Defense screens are up, added the engineering officer. Chen opened a ship-wide comm channel. All hands, this is the captain. In a few minutes, we're going to fight a battle against impossible odds to protect 7 alien refugees who have no one else to turn to. I won't lie to you, our chances aren't good. But sometimes being human means standing up for what's right, even when it's hopeless. Especially when it's hopeless. She paused, looking at the hegemony ships on the main screen. These aliens think humans are primitive and stupid. Let's show them exactly how dangerous primitive and stupid can be. War Commander Kralix appeared on the screen again, his expression now openly hostile. Your time is up, human. Since you choose to protect criminals, you will share their fate. Go to hell, Chen replied and cut the transmission. The first salvo from the hegemony ships lit up space like a miniature star. Energy beams and missile salvos streaked toward the Defiant, and Chen's ship shook as her defense screens absorbed the massive impact. Screens down to 60%, called out the engineering officer. We can't take many more hits like that. Return fire, Chen ordered. Target the lead ship's weapon systems. The Defiant's guns opened up, sending streams of plasma and kinetic projectiles toward the nearest hegemony vessel. To Chen's surprise, several shots actually penetrated the alien ship's defenses, causing small explosions along its hull. We're hurting them, Harris reported with surprise. Their shields are more advanced than ours, but they're not invincible. Chen allowed herself a moment of hope. Maybe they actually had a chance. That hope was shattered when the hegemony ships returned fire with everything they had. The Defiant bucked and rolled as energy beams tore through her hull, and emergency lights flickered throughout the bridge. Hull breach on Deck 7, called out Morrison. Emergency bulkheads are sealed, but we've lost half our missile launchers. Chen was about to order another attack when Torres called out urgently. Captain, I'm getting a transmission from the Cathara ship. Resonance wants to speak with you. Put him through. Resonance appeared on a secondary screen, his shell pattern shifting rapidly through different colors. Captain Chen, we have an idea. Our ship's quantum drive is operational thanks to your engineer's work. We may be able to help you. How? Chen asked as the Defiant shook under another barrage. Cathara technology includes quantum field manipulation. We can create localized distortions in space-time that might disrupt their targeting systems and weapons. But we need to work together. Human tactical thinking combined with Cathara quantum manipulation. Chen felt a surge of hope. What do you need from us? Link your ship's computers to ours. Let us coordinate your weapons fire while we manipulate the quantum fields around the enemy ships. Commander Morrison looked alarmed. Captain, giving an alien species access to our tactical system is exactly what we're going to do, Chen finished. Do it, Torres. The next few minutes were unlike anything in the history of space combat. The Cathara used their quantum manipulation abilities to create pockets of distorted space-time around the hegemony ships, causing their weapons to miss or fire in completely wrong directions. Meanwhile, Chen and her tactical officer worked with Cathara computers to coordinate attacks that hit the enemy vessels at precisely the right moments and locations. It's working, Harris called out as one of the hegemony ships suddenly listed to one side, its engines failing. We've disabled one of their ships. But the victory was short-lived. War Commander Kralix apparently decided to end the fight quickly. All 4 remaining hegemony ships focused their fire on the Defiant, and no amount of quantum manipulation could stop that much firepower. Shields are down, Morrison shouted over the sound of alarms. We're taking direct hits to the hull. Chen watched helplessly as her ship was torn apart around her. Bulkheads collapsed, systems failed, and she could hear the sound of escaping atmosphere as the Defiant's hull was breached in multiple places. Captain, Torres called out, her voice filled with wonder. I'm detecting multiple jump signatures. Big ones. Chen looked at the tactical display and felt her heart leap. Emerging from jump space were 6 human warships, heavy, cruisers and battleships from the 3rd Fleet. The cavalry had arrived. This is Admiral Morrison aboard the UES. Intrepid, came a familiar voice over the comm system. Defiant, report your status. Chen realized that Morrison was her first officer's father, and the relief in Jake Morrison's voice was obvious when he responded. Admiral, we are heavily damaged but still operational. Enemy forces consist of 4 active hegemony warships. Copy that, Defiant. All ships engage the enemy. Let's show these aliens how the human fleet deals with bullies. The space battle that followed was brief but decisive. The hegemony ships found themselves facing 7 human warships, and even their advanced technology couldn't overcome those odds. Within minutes, 2 more hegemony vessels had been destroyed, and the remaining 2 were in full retreat. War Commander Kralix appeared on the screen one last time, his expression murderous. This is not over, humans. The hegemony has a long memory. We will return. We'll be waiting, Chen replied coldly. As the hegemony ships jumped away, Chen finally allowed herself to breathe. The Defiant was badly damaged, but her crew was alive and the Cathara were safe. Admiral Morrison's image appeared on the main screen. Well done, Captain Chen. Fleet Command received your reports about first contact and decided to investigate. Good thing we arrived when we did. Chen nodded gratefully. Thank you, Admiral. But this is just the beginning. The Cathara have information about dozens of other species that need protection from the hegemony. Then we'd better get ready for a long war, the Admiral replied grimly. Dr. Reeves appeared on the bridge, his face shining with excitement. Captain, the Cathara want to share all their technology with us. They say humans are the first species they've encountered that would risk everything to protect strangers. Chen looked at the image of the damaged Cathara ship on her screen, then at her own battered vessel. They had all nearly died, but they had proven something important. That sometimes the right thing to do was also the hum. 3 years had passed since the UES Defiant answered a distress call in deep space, but Captain Sarah Chen still remembered every detail of that day. Now she stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station, watching as the latest group of refugee ships arrived in the system. The view outside showed dozens of vessels from different species, some sleek and elegant like Cathara designs, others more practical and sturdy like human ships, and many that were strange combinations of technologies from multiple civilizations. Captain Chen, came a familiar musical voice behind her. She turned to see Resonance approaching, his shell displaying the warm golden patterns that meant contentment and friendship. He now served as the official ambassador between the Cathara and the Human Cathara Alliance, a position that had been created just for him. Hello, old friend, Chen said with a smile. How are the new arrivals settling in? Very well, Resonance replied, moving to stand beside her at the large window. The Villani refugees from the Epsilon sector are amazed by what we have built here. They had given up hope of finding sanctuary anywhere in the galaxy. Chen nodded as she watched the refugee ships being guided to docking stations by Alliance patrol vessels. Each ship represented survivors of another species that had been attacked by the hegemony or other aggressive empires. Over the past 3 years, word had spread across the galaxy that there was a place where peaceful species could find protection and help. Any word from the front lines? Chen asked. Resonance's shell shifted to more serious blue patterns. Admiral Morrison reports that the joint human Kithra fleet successfully defended the coral system yesterday. The hegemony sent a full battle group, but our new quantum-enhanced weapons proved very effective. Chen felt a surge of pride. The alliance between humans and Kithra had produced technological advances that neither species could have achieved alone. Human creativity and adaptability combined with Kithara understanding of quantum mechanics had resulted in ships and weapons that could stand against the hegemony's superior numbers. And the diplomatic front? Chen asked. Even better news, Resonance said, his shell brightening to excited yellow patterns. The Terran Council has agreed to our proposal. 12 more species have joined the alliance this month, including the Drakmiri Military Collective. We now have enough member worlds to officially declare ourselves a galactic government. Chen turned to look at her old friend with surprise. A galactic government? That's a big step. A necessary step, Resonance replied. For too long, the peaceful species of the galaxy have been scattered and vulnerable. Alone, each of us could be conquered or destroyed. Together, we represent a force that even the hegemony must respect. Through the station's communication system, Chen could hear the sounds of controlled chaos that had become normal on New Geneva Station. Humans, Cathara, and representatives from dozens of other species worked together in laboratories, command centers, and diplomatic offices. Children from multiple species played together in the station's parks, learning each other's languages and customs. Sometimes I can't believe this all started with a simple distress call, Chen said quietly. Not simple, Resonance corrected gently. What your species did that day was extraordinary. You risked everything for beings you had never met, expected nothing in return, and refused to abandon us even when faced with impossible odds. That is why the Alliance exists, because humans showed the galaxy that there was another way. Dr. James Reeves approached them from across the observation deck, carrying a data tablet and wearing the satisfied expression of a scientist who had just made an important discovery. He was now the head of the Alliance's Joint Research Division, overseeing projects that combined the knowledge of dozens of different species. Sarah, Resonance, you need to see this, Dr. Reeves said excitedly. We just received the final report from the expedition to the Andronis system. Chen took the tablet and read through the data with growing amazement. They found intact Kythera archives? Not just archives, Reeves replied. An entire research facility that the hegemony missed when they destroyed the homeworld. It contains 3,000 years of Kythera scientific knowledge, plus records from hundreds of other species they encountered during their explorations. Resonance's shell shifted through rapid patterns of joy and sadness. My people's history, he said softly. We thought it was all lost. There's more, Reeves continued. The facility also contained historical records about the hegemony. We now know how they started, what drives them, and most importantly, how to stop them. Chen looked up from the tablet. How do we stop them? The same way we've been fighting them all along, Reeves explained. Unity. The records show that the hegemony has conquered hundreds of species over the past 2,000 years, but they've never faced a true alliance before. Every species they've defeated was alone and isolated when the attack came. And now? Chen asked. Now we have 57 member species, 600 worlds, and the most advanced fleet in the galaxy, Resonance said with satisfaction. The hegemony still outnumbers us, but they can no longer simply overwhelm us with superior force. An alarm chimed softly through the station's communication system, followed by an announcement. Captain Chen and Ambassador Resonance to the command center. Priority message from the front lines. They made their way quickly through the station's corridors, past the busy laboratories and offices where the Alliance's work continued around the clock. The command center was a marvel of cooperative engineering. Human tactical displays integrated with Kythera quantum computers and communication systems from a dozen other species. Admiral Morrison appeared on the main screen, his expression serious but not alarmed. Sarah, Resonance, I have news from the hegemony border. War Commander Kralex has requested a meeting under the traditional rules of parley. Chen felt a chill. Kralex was the same hegemony commander who had attacked the Defiant 3 years ago, and she had never forgotten his promise that they would return. What does he want? She asked. Unknown, Morrison replied. But our intelligence suggests there have been significant political changes within the hegemony leadership. This might be an opportunity for a peaceful resolution. Resonance's shell shifted to thoughtful purple patterns. In all our history, the hegemony has never requested negotiations. This is unprecedented. Could be a trap, Chen said cautiously. Possibly, Morrison agreed. But we can't ignore the chance that they're serious. Sarah, I want you and Resonance to represent the Alliance at the meeting. You were there at the beginning of this conflict, and you understand better than anyone what's at stake. 2 weeks later, Chen found herself aboard the Alliance flagship Harmony, approaching the neutral zone where the meeting with Kralex would take place. The ship itself was a symbol of what the Alliance had achieved, a hybrid design that incorporated the best technology from multiple species, crewed by beings from dozens of different worlds working together toward a common goal. Detecting the hegemony vessel, reported the Drakmiri tactical officer. Single heavy cruiser matching our agreements for the parley. Chen looked at the alien ship on the main screen. It was the same class of vessel that had nearly destroyed the Defiant 3 years ago, but now it seemed smaller somehow. Less threatening. Open a channel, Chen ordered. War Commander Kralex appeared on the screen, but he looked different than Chen remembered, older, more tired, and without the casual cruelty that had marked their first encounter. Captain Chen, Kralex said, and Chen was surprised to hear what sounded like respect in his voice. I am honored to meet with you again under more civilized circumstances. Commander Kralex, Chen replied carefully. Your message mentioned matters of mutual interest. Kralex nodded slowly. The hegemony leadership has been reconsidering our policies in this region of space. Your alliance has proven to be more resilient than we anticipated. Resonance stepped forward, his shell showing calm but alert patterns. What are you proposing? A cessation of hostilities, Kralex replied. Formal recognition of alliance territorial claims in exchange for an end to your interference with hegemony expansion in other sectors. Chen felt her anger rising. You want us to stop helping other species just so you can conquer them without opposition? I want to prevent a war that will destroy millions of lives on both sides, Kralex replied firmly. The Hegemony High Command is preparing a massive offensive that will dwarf anything you have seen. They would rather see the entire galaxy burn than allow the Alliance to spread further. Then why are you here? Resonance asked. Kralex was quiet for a long moment before answering. Because 3 years ago I watched one small human ship risk everything to protect 7 alien refugees. I have served the hegemony for 40 years, and in all that time I have never seen such honor. Chen studied the alien commander's face, looking for signs of deception. What are you really asking for? A third option, Kralik said quietly. The hegemony cannot be reformed from within, but it can be replaced. There are many within our military who are tired of endless conquest and meaningless destruction. If the Alliance were to offer amnesty to hegemony forces who defect, you're talking about civil war, Chen realized. I am talking about evolution, Kralik's Korean thing to do.